Official Podcast, Episode 1.
Hello and welcome to the very first Mod Brothers podcast. It's going to be our dabble in the podcasting genre. Today we've got Bill,
Hey everybody.
MNPC Tech's Painter, Brad,
Hello.
Jeremy,
Hello, world.
and Nathan.
Hello.
So why don't you guys just go and introduce yourself, just tell everybody your screen name, and then I'll go in the back afterwards.
All right, everybody. I go by MNPC Tech on many forums. You probably know me as Monster Mod on YouTube, and I've been doing professional modding for the last 8 years. And in 2003, we started making accessories for all you people that are unique and one of a kind. And I'm happy to be part of the Mod Brothers.
My name is Brad Galvin. I'm MNPC Tech's painter. I've been on the Mod Brother forum like 3 times, actually putting an answer. I see on YouTube, I go by Dirt Designs Graphic. That's my custom paint business. I met Bill about 2 years ago and been working with him ever since. And he's introduced me to a lot of different types of paint jobs I never would have done.
Well, hello again, world. I am Jeremy. Many of you probably know me as Eel Ambience on miscellaneous forums. It's not much else to say other than I'm insane, and let's get this thing going.
You're the Acrylic King as well.
Yes,
Ah.
bow down.
That's just the canvas of choice, that's all.
And Nathan?
Mod Brothers, I'm Nathan. Goodbye, Unholy. Haven't done much modding lately, but yeah, bit of engineering myself, so trying to get into it.
And Nathan's actually coming all the way from Australia, so it's nice and early in the morning for him. So thank you for getting up.
Thanks.
And I'm Kyle. I go by Kyle VDM on pretty much every forum that I'm on. And I got into modding about 2 years ago after seeing Bill's videos on YouTube, and I've been a member of the Mod Brothers since the very start. So that's basically us, the crew on the Mod Brothers today. So I think that's all you need to know about everybody. But we've got Bill Owen on from MPC Tech, so I don't think we can let him go without doing a small interview, if you can call it that. You ready for it, Bill?
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
How did you get into modding? The good old question that's been answered a million times.
Let's see here. Which version should well, first off, I was very much into custom cars and never really cared much for computers. And it wasn't until somebody in a car club I was in was a total geek. I asked him for help on my Dell 485 Pentium 1 system was like really slow, and they said, well, what can you do to speed this thing up? And he said, oh, I know what I can do, just tweak up the processor. I think it was like 75 megahertz, and he tweaked it up to like 80. And he added more memory, and I watched him do the entire transition, and I associate with tuning a car, and I was really intrigued by it. And at the time, I was really bored with my full-time job, so I thought I'd go to night school and get my A+ certification and pursue being a computer technician. And what happened while I was doing that is that the whole IT market just kind of fell through because of the Y2K bug deal, and there was nobody hiring after that. And so I decided to go out on my own part-time, building systems for people, doing PC tech support and that. And a friend of mine that was really into Volkswagen GTIs had wanted a new gaming rig, and we had this idea to build a new rig from based around his car, which was like a 1986 GTI. and we painted the factory tornado red paint, and we used a gauge from the gauge cluster in his center console, and we used a switch from his dash for the power switch, and we used a door handle on top. It was real nice recessed for carrying it around and stuff like that. And I put some pictures out on the web, and I was actually getting more people asking about putting windows in their cases than I was getting people that wanted systems built. So I thought I'd kind of really stumbled into something and kind of ran with it. And I guess it was just a matter of being in the right place at the right time and knowing the right people, and just grew and grew. So that's basically it in a nutshell.
Was that case you're talking about the Dell Eater?
Yeah, it was a Dell Eater. And if you guys recall the stupid Dell commercials with the Dell guy, dude, you're getting a Dell. You know, it was kind of like a retaliation against those commercials.
So I'll add a link into the Mod Brothers podcast topic for this show to the Dell Eater, just so everybody else can see it.
Sweet.
Let's see. What motivates you to continue modding with all the windows, flames, and turbines you get asked to do?
Well, the thing is that I'm kind of when I do a custom build for somebody, whether it be a business or client or whatever, I try to always do something new each time. I don't like to replicate things, because that way they feel that they're getting a one of a kind, and then it just inspires me more, because I'm doing something different versus just doing the same thing over and over. So at one point, you know, the turbine thing, I just kind of gave that the guide on how to do that away on the public forums. Just like, this is how I do it. Do it yourself, you know, because I guess I was just sick of doing them, and I didn't want to do them for people. And so, you know, this is how I do it. You can do it yourself. And that's also part of the reason why my business got so popular, is because I just shared a lot of information on how to do things. You know, I believe in giving back, and then you'll get something in return. So it's part of keeping the enthusiasm going in the community, and there's a lot of it's education, you know. So I'm always willing to give when I can.
So lots of your guides, all of your guides, you know, be found on the Mod Brothers, correct?
Yep.
And also on your website.
Yep, mmpctech.com, which a lot of people ask what that stands for. It was originally Minnesota Personal Computer Technician. It's just the acronym for that. And over time, I've had people say, well, why don't you change it to, you know, Case Mod God or Modding for Life or something like that. And I'm like, no, man, that's just what I am, you know, and I'm glad I stuck with it and I didn't listen to them, because eventually it developed a name for itself.
I mean, PC Tech would never be the same without the name.
Yeah, thanks.
Next question. Tell us about MPC Tech's newest products, and of course your contribution to finding the final frontier at NASA.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, we are really focusing on radiator grills. It seems to be the big thing, because therefore a lack of just decent radiator grills on the market. And we're doing both acrylic designs, which Jeremy has helped us with. He's done all of our designs for the acrylic versions. And then we're doing CNC billet aluminum versions, which are the first of the kind on the market. And a lot of them you can get from performancepcs.com. We've been working with them exclusively in reselling our billet machine grills. And then we've been considering getting into designing water blocks. So we're just kind of in the early stages of that. We don't know exactly what we want to do, but I know I want to get into that market and just enter it and change things up a bit, do something different. And we're also working with Jeremy on that as well. Then the NASA thing, we've had 2 separate orders this year from NASA, which blew us away, of our billet 120 millimeter machine grills, the brain drain, and then the one with the honeycomb mesh insert. And they both went to NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in California, and the first customer, they bought 20 of them, and I was really intrigued at what they were using them for because it was no more than maybe 2 months from their last launch. So my wife kind of just poo-pooed it. It's probably just the IT department putting it on their desktops or something.
Thicker and
But,
expensive.
of course, I wanted to believe it was going to be in space, somehow, some way. So I never found out from the first customer. I asked them, I said, I understand that there's there's secrecy in whatever you're doing with it. I'd appreciate if we knew. They never answered me, but the second guy that ordered the other grills with the honeycomb inserts, he actually emailed me back a few weeks ago, and they're being used for the rack of servers for their radar system in Goldstone, California. Their radar there. He built all the server racks for that radar, and I think he bought 50 grills, and I believe they're the intake grills on these server cases. I don't know what model they are or anything. He wasn't that detailed about it, but I'm like, that's awesome. I'm like, whatever else you need, let us know. We'll design something if you need it. It's
So NASA's busy using your grills
yeah,
for their servers.
Yeah, that's awesome. And being that we make them in the USA and it's for NASA, I mean, it doesn't get any better than that,
And actually, on that note, can you tell us about any projects you're busy working on at the moment, or projects you're planning?
Well, we're about to finish the Wolfenstein Tribute PC finally. We put that off. We were supposed to have it done in June, but I got sidetracked with something else that came up. But Brad is just finishing up the one mural of the one boss from the game with the Tesla gun. And I got the top handle done, and hopefully this week we'll get the system installed. I bought the game when Newegg first released it, and I purposely have not opened the game just so I can install it in this PC when it's done and play it on that. So I'm eager to do that, and I'm trying not to listen to people's opinion about the game and to ruin it for me. So that, and then we've been working on the NVIDIA Ion Cube for the NVIDIA Ion contest hosted through moddersinc.com. And tomorrow on the 28th is the first official day that we actually show the work that we've done on it. For the last 2 months, there's myself and 4 of the modders have had to keep it secret to what we're doing. And you can find out, if you go to MMPC Tech's main page, there's a link there to see the design that we're working on. And Modders Inc. will have the work log exclusively, and we'll have a link to that.
I'll add that to the show notes as well. So
Sweet.
This is the cube designed by Cheapskate, correct?
Yeah. And those of you that know Cheapskate from BitTech, he's got a creative mind unlike anyone else. Truly out there. And I chose his design. But there was actually the contest was very unique. It had an open submission for the public where people could submit their own design, and they were going to narrow it down to 30 choices. It was like they came up with just over 440 submissions of different designs, and then the crew at Modders Inc. narrowed it down to 30 choices, and then the 5 of us modders went in, and then we chose which one we wanted to build. And I thought that Cheapskates was the only one that really embodied NVIDIA and this new Ion ITX motherboard platform, because it's got a real futuristic look to it. It's like a Borg cube. It's something that 20 years from now, if you saw it, you'd still think it's modern. It's got that kind of edginess to it. It's a lot like a sculpture. And then, of course, it's emblazed with the black and green colors that are synonymous with NVIDIA.
It's a decent-looking piece of modern art.
Yeah, it's sweet. I actually said that if we don't win the contest, that I know a gallery that would be happy to display it. So it would fit right in.
The gallery called my bedroom would be happy to display it as well.
The beauty is, though, here's the twist on the contest, is that Cheapskate, since he submitted the design, if it wins the contest, we actually ship him the PC. He gets to keep the PC, which is awesome. And if we don't win, I get to keep the PC. So it's a no-lose situation. But however, the files that we use for the laser cutting, we got everything laid out. So if Cheaps wants to build another one, we can build another one, or he can build another one. So basically, this was a prototype for the design, so I could kind of see, what needs to be revised on it or whatever for another version. So I definitely see another one being built. It's that cool.
Cool. And the District 9 mod?
Yeah. We just I love the movie, and I was actually inspired by all the screenshots and artwork before I even saw the movie.
Oh, the alien weapons are just awesome.
It's the best ever. It's awesome. I would be the first time that I actually want to build one of those weapons, just to build a weapon, because they're so cool looking. They're so cool looking. But that is we're doing that for Cooler Master to have at their suite at the next 2010 Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas. Because of budget cuts, they're not going to have a booth at the show. They're going to have a private suite that they're going to invite the media in to see all their new models, and the plan is to have this District 9 PC on display in their suite.
Do you know if the sniper, the camo sniper, is also going to be there? Or is that the camo storm?
You know what? No, that was actually done for Thrasher 2, who's well known on a lot of the forums, Anthony Reynolds.
Yeah.
He paid us to build that for him. Well, it's a mod. We didn't really do much mods on it. I did a custom target style, scope style front intake on it.
How thick is the aluminium on that?
Oh, man.
So that looks like half-inch?
I think it's 3/4 inch.
You love your thick aluminium, don't you?
I love it, man. I do, because it's one of those things that I know no one else was crazy enough to do it. It's like, and people think they flip out when they see aluminum. Aluminum is not that expensive. For example, you'll see on the NVIDIA Cube, Cheaps had originally had a 18 by 18 acrylic base for this thing that's mounted on a pedestal. It's suspended on this pedestal, rotates above this base. And what we did is we milled a new base from 3/4 inch thick, 12 by 12, 3/4 inch thick, 6061 aluminum. And that sheet was $50, which that's not that much money.
It's not
now
expensive for a big chunk of metal. Especially, yeah, especially like aluminium, which is the milling process, or the refining process is pretty expensive.
I don't, Jeremy, do you think $50 is a lot of money for that piece?
I mean, I'm probably kind of biased about that, simply because I tend to go excessive on a lot of builds myself, so I don't think $50 is that much.
You see, in the UK, a sheet like that would cost a fortune. I don't even want to look at how much it would cost me.
Well, I can tell you, when we did the microfly, the bezel on that, and I think that was inch thick.
Mm-hmm.
It may have been thicker than that.
It's 1 1/4, I believe.
1 1/4. See, God, I didn't even remember that. That sheet I bought, that was a 12 by 12 sheet, and we bought it from McMaster. The sheet alone, before shipping, was $125. That was hard to swallow. But when you look at it as, it's much easier to mill it versus trying to create it from, like, using fiberglass. I mean, time-wise, it just makes more sense to spend that money and mill it in a few hours than trying to craft something by hand. But using another material. Plus, you can anodize it.
Yeah. Are you planning on doing any other color anodizing other than black, or going to be sticking with black for now?
I wish I could. That's the problem. Anodizing has been so hard as to get as a resource here in Minnesota. We've only got a handful of places that do it, and they all focus on the industrial corner of the market, because that's where the business is, just doing industrial boring pieces. They get big lots in from companies that just need black or clear done. They can't justify setting up their system to do red or blue or green, because there just wouldn't be enough people walking in to want those colors.
Yeah.
When we did that Microfly bezel blue, that just happened to be one of those odd circumstances where they were doing something blue for a large company. So I took advantage of it then. Now, the problem with anodizing, particularly a blue like that, is you have to clear it after, because if you just leave it anodized, the stuff will scratch right off. So we had to actually clear coat that thing, and it kind of sucks. I mean, you spend that money and you get that real nice aluminum, colored aluminum shine on it, and then it's like, now I got to clear it to protect it, to kind of,
Yeah.
tells the effect.
So your black hard anodize, you don't have to clear that, or do you clear all that as well?
You don't. No. Yeah.
So you get that cool aluminium shine from that.
You know what's really cool about that black is that, Jeremy, have you seen that black yet in person?
Your products? Yes.
Yeah, okay. When I look at them, it's called a hard coat. It's a hard coat 2 anodized finish, which is like the most durable anodized finish you can get. When we finish the parts after they're milled, and you get that grain from using Scotch-Brite to get all the little scratches out and stuff, when they get anodized, you get a black anodized grain finish that looks great on like a Silverstone or Leon Lee case. I personally, from what I've seen, I haven't seen anything better. So we're really pleased on how that turned out.
Cool. And finally, the question everybody wants to know: how close is the Hot Wheels track to being finished?
Well, that's Jeremy after he's here. No. By the way, everybody, Jeremy's coming up from Florida to visit us at MMPC Tech in a week, so...
you had to drop it, didn't you?
Yeah, it. Well, because we're gonna do something fun to share with everybody.
I'm expecting a billet aluminum and acrylic baby to come out of that.
I think we're gonna throw you a curveball.
It's possible.
Because if you stick billet and aluminium king in the same room, who knows what's going to happen? To be honest,
I'm pleading the fifth.
And a bottle of Jägermeister. I don't think anything will get done. Just a lot of good conversation, a lot of good fun. I've known Jeremy for a few years now. What has it been? 4 years or something? Or
we've been talking for a couple years.
Yeah.
Actively. I've been following your work for a lot longer than that, though.
See, I'm the young one here.
The Hot Wheels deal, quickly on that. No, I haven't been setting that up. The plan was to just keep buying. Well, what I've been doing for everybody is I've been buying vintage late 60s original Redline Hot Wheels track, the orange track with the supercharger garages. These are these little garages with the 2 roller wheels in it. They're battery operated, so you could set up a track and then have your car continuously push through this track. And so I've been buying all these vintage ones in good shape off eBay. It's just one of those, I don't know, we all have those little hobby niche collecting things, and it's something I've always wanted to do because I've got a son now, and I thought it'd be fun to share with him. And I thought, well, what would be cool, since we've got a pretty large presence on YouTube, is to build a track and record it for YouTube. That was my goal, and I just haven't had time to really nail down getting the space for it and stuff.
I'm sure many MNPC techs are going to love having a Hot Wheels track going all over the workshop.
Well, my workshop's just a hole in the wall, right, Brad?
Yeah. My garage is bigger.
Yeah. It's just a good studio for one person. There's actually in the warehouse where my studio is at, there's this gallery in there, really nice gallery with these real nice wood floors. And most of the time, it's just open space when there's between shows. And I thought this would be the perfect venue to set up a Hot Wheels track. There's ideal lighting in there and stuff. And how many people get a chance to set up a Hot Wheels track in an art gallery? So, that's kind of my plan. It's just a matter of nailing down a day to get in there that they'll let me, have a couple days to set it up.
Ask them to do a Hot Wheels day. Have people come in and view your Hot Wheels track.
Yeah, I could do that. I would love to do a Hot Wheels case mod. Hey, Brad, there's some Hot Wheels custom paints out now?
Yeah, PPG Vibrance makes the Hot Wheels cool something line. There's like 6 or 8 colors.
They're like metal flakes.
Flakes, I think they use that polished aluminum looking base, and then they do like a candy on top to give it that pop to it.
Yeah.
So
That'd be sweet, like that orange,
Yeah, the one I've seen the most popular is like orange or like a violet looking color.
Yeah, back in the 60s.
Spectrachrome or something.
Spectra, yeah.
Like that.
Back in the 60s, man, they had some sweet colors they used. I'm sure they were highly, bad for your health, they used back then. But super cool colors, candy. That's like when the candy metal flakes first started.
Brad, do you have a few minutes? Or do you
just walked out, man. Hold on a second.
Well, while Bill's going to go and find Brad, I shall inform you of what we're going to start doing now. We're going to be doing a section in the podcast which is going to be the question and answer session, where you from the community can send us questions and we will attempt to answer as many of them as we can on the podcast. And you can send the questions to the Mod Brothers Twitter account, which is @themodbrothers. The email address, which is, for the moment, themodbrothers@googlemail.com. And also on the forum, there's a special little section for you to add questions. So, Brad, are you there? Or
Yes, I'm here.
we've got some questions for you, being the painter.
The answer is 7.
First thing is there a good cheap compressor and airbrush to help people get started in modding?
As far as compressor wise, what my advice would be is just get like a 1.5 horsepower 4-gallon compressor from like the Home Depot, Sears, wherever, because you can use them for other things. As Bill mentioned, you can use them to pump up the tires on your bike. You just need to get the proper fittings to go from the 1/2-inch hose, whatever, to the 1/4-inch for the airbrush. It's basics. I think most airbrush hoses have the fittings that fit onto the compressor. You just need a reducer to reduce the air pressure. And as far as airbrushes, there's a million out there. My suggestion for a good, reasonably priced, between $60 and $80 would be a Thaler Chandler, made by Badger, 3000, an Omni 3000. It's not a bottle feed off the bottom, but it's an actual gravity feed. If you've seen any of my YouTube videos, you've seen the gravity feed where the cup's on top. Excuse me. It just makes it better for being able to see what you're doing, and you can take the air cap off, reverse it so you can get the fine details with that. But I would suggest also going to coastairbrush.com, and they have everything as far as airbrushing and painting they would ever need to know.
And I shall add a link to the airbrush in the show notes as well. And the next question is, what paints should people be using? Because once you've got all the airbrush and stuff, what paints, primers?
Well, it depends. If you want to go the unsafe way, like I use the urethanes because I do a lot of automotive stuff. So I use the automotive urethanes, the acrylic urethane. If you're going to spray, like, say, in a townhouse, garage, or an apartment even, you can use the new line of paint that came out. It was from Createx. Coast Airbrush carries that as well, but it's Auto Air, and that's water-based, so there's no smell. which is a big thing. There's no toxic reducers and all that, and you can use a like Bill uses the Krylon type spray clear. You can use that on top of that, and they've been making flakes, candies, and metallics, pearls, all that with that line. I used it when it first came out probably 10 years ago, and then they changed. They kind of like stopped doing it, and then they changed it and made it this whole new generation, which is, I haven't used it personally, but from what I read on forums, it's just the bomb. So.
And for priming cases, is it worth getting primers for your spray guns, or should you just stick with the ready to spray cans?
Honestly, I would probably just stick with spray cans. The initial investment for the compressor and even a cheap gun is going to be over $200, where you can get a can of, and they actually have the automotive sandable primers, etch primers. A can of etch primer is $12, and you can do a whole case for that. Versus, if you never, you might buy all this equipment and then never use it again.
Yeah.
I'd hate to see someone put that investment forward and not ever use it.
And also, if you paint in an aluminium or even a steel case, you need to get an acid etch primer, not just some random primer. But if you get an acid etch, it'll improve your finish.
Personally, I've never used an acid etch primer.
You've never used.
I've painted aluminum panels, and I just sand them with 80 grit, and then use an adhesion promoter on them. A good one out there in the United States is Bulldog.
Bulldog.
Right,
Yeah.
It's a spray can, or you can invest, if you have a spray gun and a compressor, you can use House of Color AP01, which stands for Adhesion Promoter 01. It's a good one too.
And hey, that's why we have you on, not me. And the last question, or painting related question, is what's the exact process when painting something?
One more time, was that?
What's the exact process when painting something? Like,
Okay.
should you sand each layer, or?
Well, with like Bill's panels, what I do is I sand the panel. Let's say I get a panel that's black, and I'm going to airbrush something on it. So what I'll do is I'll sand it, and then I'll like an SEM primer or an epoxy primer. It's the same thing pretty much, just one's in a can, one's in a spray gun. And what that does is that actually helps the paint. It actually bonds to the metal better. That's why you, like with the SEM etch primer, that's why you want to use that, because it's an etch and a primer, so you can eliminate the acid etch, and then I hit it with my base coat, which could be whatever color he wanted, and from there, depending on what he's doing with it, hence like the Ferrari red ones, I sprayed the base and then I clear coated it, wet sand, and then buffed it, and that was it. Now, if I'm doing artwork, typically I will do that and then put an intercoat clear on it, which is a clear base coat, and then come back and then sand that with a scuff pad, a red or gray Scotch-Brite, and mask out my graphics after that, and then do all the detailing, and then clear coat, wet sand, and buff after that. It really depends on the type of job. If you're going to do a candy paint job, which is a metallic base with the tinted clear on top, you're going to want, and then graphics on top of that, you're going to want to do the base, the candy, clear coat it, and then do your graphics on top of that, and then clear coat it again.
So lots of clear coating.
It really depends. It really depends on the type of job you're doing. And with some of these high-end graphics that Bill wants, you have to actually use a urethane, an automotive grade urethane, because they have high build clear coats where you can bury everything. If you're going to use a spray can, you're going to have pretty bad edges on them.
And if you are going to go with urethane, you would make sure you've got the correct safety equipment.
Absolutely. Respirators are a must. Ventilation, some sort of fan to push the bad air out. You need some kind of airflow because the airflow helps the paint to dry faster. It pulls the solvents out of the material. And that's the one advantage of the auto air that I was talking about earlier, is spray on a layer and you use a heat gun to cure it so it dries, and then you go in with your next layer instead of, you can actually do them a lot faster because there's times where I clear coat. I mean, I did a car once, I clear coat, it was like 45 minutes between coats of clear. You know, at 2 a.m. it gets real long.
Yeah. I think that's about it on the. I think you've covered most of the painting stuff that's been asked so far.
If there's any other questions, you can go to a forum on gotpaint.com, and that's for Cal Concepts. They're a painter out in California, but they have a forum that's really good, gotpaint.com, and pretty much you can get any answer from anybody on there. Numerous people they have on there. I'm on there often. I don't answer a lot because everyone else just does it, and I just let them take care of it. But if you have any questions, like about even stuff I don't know about, they should be able to answer for you.
And most of these questions have come from the Mud Brothers podcast question submittal thread, which is in the Mud Brothers podcast section.
Mm-hmm.
So you can post questions there as well, and I'm sure we can get them answered.
Oh yeah, if anyone posts a question and just ask Bill, I should be able to, he'll forward it to me. I should be able to hook him up.
All right. I think you've got a customer somewhere waiting.
Yeah. The big thing is do your research on the internet before you ask questions. You might be able to find it, faster actually.
All right. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Brad.
All right.
The next question we have is from Feel the Funk on Twitter, and he asks, what's the ultimate no-no in modding a case? What's the biggest thing you shouldn't do to a case for beginner modders? And if Bill and Jeremy want to take that one.
Be my guest, Bill.
When I read that, that's kind of a hard question to answer. I mean, for me, probably the biggest thing is measure before you cut. I see so many people, I just want a window, it's that shape, I'm going to go ahead and cut it. Well, they cut it and they realize that, once they put the window on, they can't they can't put the panel back on or something. Just measure before you're going to cut something. And be sure, because another thing is, try, if you're just getting into modding, try on just a low buck piece of junk old case, even an old HP or something that a relative had. Work on that first before you do it on the $250 Silverstone.
Oh. Oh God, that's painful to see that too. Yeah, definitely check your measurements. Measure twice. No, actually
three times.
Measure four.
Yeah.
Measure four. Go ahead and do your measurements. Go make yourself a sandwich. Come back and check again. Go watch TV. Come back and check once again. Yeah, just make sure your measurements are correct, because you can only cut once. Once it's cut, it's cut.
I think I'll pop in here quickly. And another thing is to be patient. If you're not patient when taking your measurements, you'll be off. And especially if you're not patient when cutting, you'll get some skew lines, or you'll cut on the wrong line. And I've been a victim of this as well. When I started modding, I decided to start cutting before measuring for my 4th or 5th time, and I was off, and I was cutting in a rush, and so I damaged all the PVC and all the rest, so that took me forever to repair. So the more time you take in cutting or doing anything when it comes to modding, the better your finish will be.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Right on. And the thing is, too, I can't stress this enough, wear safety glasses if you're going to run a Dremel or any kind of power tool.
Mm-hmm.
And gloves if you're painting with primers and stuff, especially if it does say harmful on the can, just be aware of that.
Yeah.
Don't drink the lacquer thinner either.
So many people out there refuse to just read the directions on a product like a can of paint, and they want to go out and ask people. It's like, well, everything's right there. You know, they just like they need to be told by somebody, and just read the directions. That's all.
I think that should be our rule, that we should be saying over and over again, follow instructions.
Definitely.
I think that's good to be our tagline for the question and answer section. Anything else on no-nos for?
Back to the cutting thing. Like you said, Kyle, take your time, don't rush. Just remember, it's not a race. You know, nobody's out there to kind of rush you along. I mean, unless of course you're a pro at this and somebody's paying you to deliver on time. That's a whole different story. But just take your time. Take your time. Don't push it.
And also, don't know where your limits are. Don't try and do something that's too over the top. And for your first mod, if you haven't done any modding before and you decide you want to do a scratch build with no experience with power tools or anything like that, don't do it, please.
Yeah, you're gonna wind up with a missing digit or something.
Yeah.
Missing eye.
On the flip side, other than that, there's no rules. There's no rules to modding. Don't feel like there's some, established way to do something all the time when you're modding a case. I mean, it's pretty much do what you want. Just don't try not to do anything that compromises the structural rigidity of the case, so it's going to fall apart, But go do whatever kind of window you want. Just keep in mind that it's still don't take out too much of the metal, because it's still got to, remain structurally strong. I see a lot of people just on a thin aluminum case make a huge window and it's all flimsy and stuff. But thanks for
phone.
Pedro's Pizza.
I hate phones like that. Landline phones, I mean, come on.
Who needs landlines?
It's pretty much Brad's girlfriend that uses it.
I think that's safe again. For the next question is from Mitch Cave on Twitter, and also I'm going to add Darth Evix from the forum as well into this, and I think Nathan, you pretty much answered it on the forum. So, what's the best way to lengthen PSU/fan cables? What wire gauge should I use? Solder? Any testing needed before powering anything up? And also, can you just go over the what cable's red, what cable's yellow, what cable's orange, and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, with the ATX specification, which is what most general power supplies use, it's just the general. Red is 5 volts, yellow is 12 volts, and orange is 3.3 volts. Anything else? Crazy dog.
Wow, the pizza guys, they're really fast, isn't it?
Just a second.
That sounds like he's holding his nose. Oh, it's 5 volts. Black is ground.
Just as well I have 4 hours in modding to edit this.
Don't edit.
Warts and all.
Exactly. I love podcasts that are like an hour and a half long, because I'll listen to podcasts while I'm working, and it's just cool because then you just feel like you're in the room with them listening.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Definitely. I did that with our test cast we did. Sat down and listened to it. Of course, it's strange hearing your own voice. I'm just not used to that. So
it really is. It was a big shock for me. My accent's weird.
Actually, I've heard some pretty deep British accents before. Yours is pretty conservative.
Yeah,
it's more because I was born in South Africa, so it's kind of a bit weird. I'm Vickers Fundamava, essentially.
Yes, you are, and you love it. I saw on your Facebook page everybody's giving you crap about that, and you're like, "Oh,
They
you're all a bunch
really
of
are.
prawn."
Just to explain to everybody, my surname's Fundamava, so as soon as I saw District 9, everybody just started ripping into me, calling me Vickers non-stop. So they all know prawns.
That actor rocked, though. Whoever that actor was, I think he's from South Africa, isn't he?
I have no idea.
I think he is. I thought he was awesome.
Yeah, he was the. He actually produced the short that the film was based on. I believe he's a filmmaker himself.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh, can you download that or see that short anywhere?
Yeah, it should be on YouTube. I think that's where I saw it.
I gotta look that up.
If Jeremy, you could find that and send me a link, and I shall put that in the show notes as well.
Sure.
Awesome, man.
I think this is
He's-
going to be the most lax podcast ever.
Well, you know what I loved about his character is that he's super geeky. Like when he's first doing the reality cam, he's at his PC and he's talking about his wife and stuff. But then once he goes out into where the prawn are, he's just like turns into a badass and he's ordering everybody around and
Or he's
That's-
attempting to be.
yeah, I thought it was a really he did a really good job of different.
I still say there's going to be a District 10.
Oh, absolutely. I
Yeah,
said
I
before,
think
we
they-
will see Christopher again.
Yeah, and Peter Jackson loves to do his sequels.
And while we're here, I might as well just plug the forum and stuff again. If you have any questions or comments, you can email them to us, send them to us over Twitter, or just stick
Please.
them in the question and comments section. So
And
please, yes.
No dirty pictures. We have enough.
You might
What's
have
a-
enough.
You know, what completely amazes me about the forums is the diversity of people we get from around the world on there.
Yep.
You know, it's just amazing.
So many people. I've seen a lot of people from Singapore
Yeah.
forums. So if we have any listeners in Singapore, just give us a heads up.
Absolutely. Show us your work, what you're working on.
I think Nathan's disappeared.
No, I'm still here. I just got the dog quiet now.
Alright, so if we go back onto the question, if you just go on about your ATX.
Oh yeah, as I was saying before, the common color coding for most power supplies is red's 5 volts, yellow's 12 volts, and orange's 3.3 volts. They're the only main ones you really need to know apart from ground, which is black, and that's pretty much simple. So yeah, all the other connections which are on the main ATX connector, you're not going to probably use them. But yeah, with using wires, the ATX specification does what you need to use for each of the actual connectors themselves. In most general cases, it's probably 16 AWG, and sometimes 18 AWG, which is just a bit smaller. Apart from that, joining the wires for lengthening your cables, there's a few ways to go about it. One is to solder them together. That's what most people tend to do. You just need to make sure your joins are very good and you've tinned both sides. And after you've done the correct solder, you give it a bit of a test to make sure it's not going to break easy. And then you cover it in either heat shrink or some electrical tape. There's also other methods to join cables. Other people use the crimp joiners. They're pretty useful if you don't have a soldering iron and you want to join a few wires together. They're not that expensive, and you can pretty much pick them up from any general electronics store. Apart from that, there are quick and easy ways to join wires. You can always just twist them together if you need to test something, but I wouldn't suggest using that for continuous use. As for testing after you're finished, if you've got a multimeter that does continuity testing, it's always good to give it a quick check, make sure your connection's good. Otherwise, if you can see that your connection's good, it should be reasonably fine. Just make sure you haven't crossed any wires. Otherwise,
Stuff might go boom.
stuff will go boom.
And also with the color coding, what about fans? Because fans just blow everything
yes.
out the window.
Some fans use different color coding, specifically the 3-pin ones. They, instead of using yellow as the 12-volt line, they use yellow as the sense line, and they also use red as the 12-volt line, so they can always get confusing. It's always good to just give it a quick check. I mean, most fans use 12-volt, so...
And if all else fails, just post an image on the forum, and I'm sure we could help you out.
Yep, that's also another thing. And if the wires aren't color coded or you don't know what color they are, you should always refer back to the pinout and make sure you got it right. Apart from that, it's pretty much.
And for another question for you, LEDs. Let me just read this quickly. Is it really it's a weird question. Does it matter whether you have your LEDs in parallel or series?
It really depends on what you want to do with them. There's some ways you can get around different things. There's the two different configurations, but you can mix match them. You can have them in series with parallels. So you can do strange things. The main thing to make sure you're looking at is the source voltage, which is in most cases it's 12 volt, 5 volt, or the 3.3 volts. So in some cases you'll only be able to put one LED in series with orange, so with your 3.3 volts. In 5 volts you probably get 2 depending on the voltage drop of the LED, and yellow you can probably get a couple more. But the other thing to note that is in parallel you need to have one resistor per LED. A lot of people will put one resistor in and multiple LEDs. You can get away with it if you've got it right, but if one LED fails, then the rest of the circuit's going to stuff up quite a large amount.
Let's see what else. And also, if you want, there's quite a few sites around that will give you a diagram of how your LED should be. An example of it's led.linear1.org/led.wiz, and I shall put a link to that in the show notes as well.
Yep, that's a great site. I use it sometimes. Other than that, otherwise I go back to my Ohm's law and that.
Why would you want to do maths?
Yeah, why? I do some electrical engineering subjects, so yeah, Laplace transform is not fun.
And we have another question here that I'll just let anybody answer. Big Five on the forum asks, is it safe to paint a CPU fan?
I'll just open that up to the rest of you if any of you just want to answer.
It is very to paint fans. I think it's debatable about if the weight of the paint's going to affect the CFM and the RPM on it. I think that's debatable. If you really cake it with paint, there's a potential for that. But basically, fans are pretty simple, even the LED ones to take apart. The only thing is that the sticker label on the back, you're not going to be able to put that back on again. but you can use like a vinyl film, or you can just, what I've done at times is just gone without. And that sticker on there just to kind of keep dust out, but if you got a fairly clean operating system, keep it clean, that's not really an issue. So I've painted fans since I first got started modding, and I have yet to see one that stopped functioning because it was painted. Would you agree with that, Jeremy?
Yes. I get. Basically, you just have to make sure that the actual motor is masked off. You don't want paint in there.
Right.
Because obviously the fan's not going to work. Or if it does work, it'll work for a little while until something catches on fire.
And fire is not good. As much as you love flames, fire is not good. But also with that, if you feel like being a little bit more adventurous, you can always just paint the fan while it's spinning, and that'll make sure no paint gets in the motor. But
I'd
you'll
leave
get
that to
paint
Brad.
yeah, you'll get paint everywhere.
Yeah, I've done that, and that's just out of being a clown. And what's funny about that is that actually it turned out to look pretty good, and people are like, they're asking me, how did you do that? Well, you turn on the fan, you get the paint, and you paint it. No, this isn't easier than that.
Make sure you take the fan out of the case before you
Yeah.
do it. Paint on PCBs is not good, as much as people seem to think it is.
No. And the thing is, I've had people ask, like on LED fans in particular, do you need to cut the wires and stuff? No, most LEDs, you can just pull them out and then just tape off the wires if the LED's still on them. Just kind of move it out of the way as you paint it. It's as simple as that.
And we have another question from Comic Geek on the forum. How can a modder with no access to power tools and equipment achieve something like a custom front panel?
Well, I'll try to answer this the best I can, and then I'd like to hear Jeremy's input on it too. There's a lot of, well, we all have the internet, obviously, because we're all listening to this, and there's a lot of resources online that you can use. Two of the websites, I've actually used these sites when I was in a bind because I didn't have the resources to do something. The first site, and what we're talking about is laser cutting, CNC machining, and water jetting. And there's two websites that have a collective of members that offer these services. And the first one is rfqwork.com, all one word, rfqwork.com. And what you can do is you join this forum and you can submit a drawing of what you need done. You need to include the dimensions, the material type you want used, the thickness, and the type of screws, if there's going to be screws to fasten it, what size screws. And if you have a problem with that, and a lot of people don't have the ability to use CAD software, but you can download Google SketchUp to do your design, and also you can just do something as basic. I've seen people do in Word, come up with just a basic drawing of what they need done, and then you can post it on there. If you need help, there's people that you can hire for a very small fee that will actually put the design together for you in a format that these companies can use in their machines. And so it's rfqwork.com, and then the other one is cnczone.com. That's another site that's got all these skilled trades people that have this equipment, and they're looking to do one-off work for people. And basically, you're submitting your design for a bid, and they've got, each forum has different subforums of different regions where you are. If you don't find somebody in your region, somebody outside that region, you can just, they'll work with you too. That would be my first suggestion. Secondly is Craigslist. Everybody has a Craigslist for their area. And you just go to Craigslist and look under skilled trades, and you post a ad in there that you're looking for, I need a machinist to make this part. And then you basically describe what you need done. And then somebody should hopefully respond to you. And with the way the economy is right now, a lot of these small fabrication shops that have this equipment are actually using these resources to find more work because things have really slowed down for them. So you would be amazed of how receptive they are to just doing little onesie-twosie parts for people, where before, when the economy was booming, it was hard to just walk in there and ask for something to be done because they're busy with larger commitments. But the landscape's really changed for that. And then, let's see. Actually, then the other option would be just to go and look in the phone book for these types of services and actually go to them and talk to them and say, this is what I'm trying to do. And the number one thing is, though, you want to have your design laid out with all the dimensions and everything so they know what you're talking about. Otherwise, you're just wasting their time. And I would say that's about it. What do you think, Jeremy?
I think you pretty much covered it. A lot of the posts that I tend to see with a lot of this stuff actually kind of makes me laugh. I know you and I have talked about this, Bill, in the past. It makes me laugh when I see posts about people saying, you know, God, if I had access to this, God, if I had access to that, you know, whatever piece of equipment, you know, fill in the blank. It's not just the equipment, it's the creativity that really matters. I mean, it doesn't matter what you're using. You know, if you don't have any capability of being able to come up with an idea, you're not going to get anywhere. The best thing I would suggest, you know, by not having access to the higher end equipment is just sitting down with a piece of paper and some crayons. You know, just start coming up with ideas, and you have to have, you know, an inkling of an idea of what you want to do before you can approach anybody else about doing any of this type of stuff. And I mean, that's basically it.
Yeah, it's like going to an auto body shop to get your car painted, and the guy says, well, what kind of car do you have? And you're like, I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you can, I mean, you can get on the Mod Brothers forum and go to the drawing board subforum and post what you're trying to do there. But what you have to do is you have to come up with something so people have an idea of what you're trying to achieve. Otherwise, it really can't help you. You know, in today's environment, people don't have a lot of time. You know, so the most you can do to illustrate what you need done is, you know, that's the best. Another thing I thought of too for a resource is there's this website called emachineshop.com, and what they do is they actually have free software that you can use, download through their site, make your design, and submit it to them for a quote. Now, it is expensive, but it's also a great resource to get things done fast, and they've got all types of equipment there. And what they do, they're exclusively online for this purpose, is for people when they need something made, like one little oddball part for something, they're there for you. So that's another great option.
One side note for eMachine Shop, keep in mind that if you do spend hours designing something for eMachine Shop, understand that it is a proprietary format that you're saving in. You will not be able to take this anywhere else. It will only work with eMachine Shop.
But
so on another,
go ahead.
On another note, I noticed before a while back, people were starting up, I think they're called mod workshops or something, or workshops that groups of people started up, where they take a space, like a studio space or something. A bunch of people put money in, and they buy tools.
Right.
And all this.
Yeah.
That's another great way to get access to power tools or access
That's exactly
to CNC
right.
machinery even.
Yeah, I forgot about that. It was like a retail chain they started, and they would open up this workshop in a mall, strip mall space, and you paid like a membership fee to go in there and access all the equipment.
Yeah, they're regional. They're having set up in.
I'm talking about ones that are run by just a group of people.
Yeah, if you can't individually afford all the power tools, why not just go and find a whole bunch of people in your area that want to start modding and just share the modding love around and see what happens.
Exactly. To me, at least where I grew up, everybody's got a relative or somebody that's got tools. Like there's a grandfather that has a garage full of tools. There's an uncle that does this kind of work. So don't forget to just ask relatives, because typically these relatives that love to work on stuff love to share when other people are interested in it and want to learn more about it. It's because it's fun. It's a great hobby. So don't forget to just ask friends or relatives too.
And don't be put off by a 10-year-old power drill. It'll probably work just as well as anything else.
Probably better.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, if you don't have any power tools to start off with, a good place to start is probably a Dremel. You can
Rotary tool.
Yeah, rotary tool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You can do pretty much anything with them.
Yeah. That's funny. And the reason why we say it is because my experience, and I'm going to say this anyways because you guys snickered at it, I found that Craftsman brand rotary tools last longer than Dremel brand rotary tools. I personally feel that they use a better motor in them. It lasts longer, and I'm abusive on rotary tools. I go through them like crazy. It's hard for me to drop $80 on a Dremel, and when you get all this unnecessary stuff with it, I just want to use the Dremel itself, because most of the time what you use is the cutting wheel to cut off fan grills or cut small windows. I don't recommend using the Dremel to cut a full window. I've done it when I first started out just out of necessity, but the most common tool I use is a cutting wheel, a reinforced one for cutting metal, and you got all these look like Q-tip attachments that I'm never going to use. I'm spending money on that just sit there and get thrown away. So I'll go to Sears and I'll buy their rotary tool, which is like a 3,600 RPM, and it's like $40, and sometimes I've seen it on sale for $29.99. I'll buy that, where it's just that tool in the box, and I'm not wasting, another $50 for a Dremel that's not going to last as long. Now, Again, I speak strictly from personal experience.
I can relate.
The one accessory I do find useful though is the drum sander.
I agree.
For filing stuff down.
I agree completely. Yep.
I hate sitting there for hours sitting with a hand file when you.
But like the polishing attachments,
they're pointless. You could do better with a cloth and some rubbing company.
Exactly.
Can actually do more damage than good using those things, especially if you have a heavy hand.
You're right, Jeremy. You create more scratches and grooves than something.
But talking about a heavy hand, let the Dremel do the cutting.
Yes.
Don't push down. Just leave it. Just let it.
You're right. Let the wheel do the work. Don't force it. It's not going to get done faster. You're just going to eat up more of the material.
Or wind up with a shard of cut-off wheel in your eye.
Yeah, which aren't cheap. I mean, I know that when I first got into using the Dremel and all that, and I go to Home Depot, that I can't remember what model number it is, but it's the 1.5-inch reinforced wheels by Dremel were like $22.99 for, I want to say, 10 of them. That's a lot of money for those. I mean, if you're going to do back when I was doing steel cases like the Chief Tech Dragon, the steel server tower, cutting a window with a Dremel is like just a waste of money. You go through all these wheels, So just think, do smart modding, and to be honest, go out and invest in a Black & Decker. Black & Decker makes, for the money, their tools last a long time. Buy a Black & Decker jigsaw for like $35 to $40. Man, I've had mine for like 3 years now, and I do panel cuts all the time, and it just keeps going.
Yeah,
Oh.
I have one too. It's there's something wrong with it though. It's stuck on high speed. I just haven't had the time to crack it open to check it out, but it does work. It works well.
Absolutely.
And it's compatible with the majority of the Dremel brand attachments. My cutoff wheel of choice are the Easy Locks. They're very strong. They last longer than the fiberglass reinforced ones, and they only cost a little bit more.
On the note of the jigsaw, I've been using my dad's jigsaw, which he's had for a good 10, 12 years. It's almost as old as me, and that's still going strong. And you could use a single jigsaw blade for multiple case windows.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I would say along with that, buy the 18 teeth per square inch or higher, minimum 18 teeth per square inch size metal cutting blade.
Or you'll get some horrible bent edges.
Well, you know, if you try using the wood cutting blades that come with the thing, I mean, you're liable to rip up your panel if you're cutting it. So, you know, and the thing is too, the more teeth on a blade, the more tighter the curves and turns you can cut with it as well. So I typically use an 18 TPI metal cutting blade, just like a generic brand.
Whatever's cheapest.
Yeah. I do, you know, I will say this though, guys. I learned the hard way because I do try to save money on tools. And for the longest time, I was buying steel, you know, just your basic steel drill bits. I finally moved up to a titanium set.
Yes.
I'm like, that's it. I'm gonna go all out. I'm gonna drop the money, and I'm gonna have something because I'm just sick of breaking bits and having them go dull. And I got a real nice Milwaukee set of bits, titanium. Like, that was the best investment I ever did. And I'm like, here you were, you're stubborn all these years trying to save that money, but in the long run, you probably spent more money.
Yep. Yeah, Milwaukee makes really good stuff. Their hole saws are really good quality too.
Yeah, they are.
I think that can be another section at some point. We can do a whole saw drill bit section.
Yeah, and then you know what's funny? I went and invested in a set of plastic drill bits too. Well, because of the cheapskate build, I'm like, you know, I don't want this acrylic to crack and stuff. So, which actually, when you drill 1/4 inch thick, the cast acrylic, the green UV, I can actually use regular drill bits on it if I just go slow, let the bit do the work without cracking it once it breaks through the bottom. So, but otherwise, if you're going to cut a lot of acrylic, I guess I'd invest in, you know, plastic drill bits, plastic cutting drill bits.
I have a few of the standard sizes. I think I have a 1/4 inch, a 3/8 inch, an 1/8 inch. You know, standard sizes. You know, that common hole sizes. They do work. Another trick, if you have a particularly exotic size hole that you want to drill and you can't find an acrylic bit for that, you can actually modify a standard drill bit to be acrylic friendly. And it just involves using the sanding barrel attachment on your rotary tool, and probably about 10 seconds. And it works just as good as an acrylic bit.
Maybe we'd have to get you to do a guide for that.
Are you just making a point on it, Jeremy?
What you're basically doing, a standard drill bit has that 90-degree shelf on the cutting edge. You're basically sanding that shelf to a 45-degree angle. So instead of it actually scooping material away as it's drilling into the material, it's shaving it away. So it minimizes the I guess the blunt trauma that is occurring to the acrylic itself, so it doesn't crack or shatter or any of that stuff. Works pretty good though.
Awesome tip.
And that's why you're the acrylic king.
Exactly. Bow down.
Yeah.
Bow down now, Kyle. Get on the floor. Join me.
Getting on the floor would involve making the readers or listeners even have to endure my mic hitting the desk.
Oh God, you guys make me laugh.
Kyle, did I ever tell you the story about where one of my local customers came into my shop one day and at least how I started referring to Jeremy as the king of acrylic. He came in the shop one day and we were talking and he started talking about work logs on BitTech and he goes, "Oh yeah, I love that one guy. What is it? Ambience or something? That guy is just the king of acrylic, man. He's just." I go, "Oh yeah, I know him." He's like, "Yeah." I'm trying to remember what project it was. The Blue Balls. Blue Box.
Blue balls is cheaps.
Yeah, too. Yeah.
Yeah, your blue box, your scratch build of acrylic.
Blue box. Yeah, she's sitting right next to me too.
Awesome. Are you using that right now for your?
No, I'm actually on Noir right now. But
Is that Noir version?
version 2, technically.
You're a modder, so that's more than likely 2.5 by now.
I think
No,
that Jeremy is probably he's going to be the most frequently featured modder on the Case Mod blog because you just finished Checkmate, and I told him I want to put that up on the blog, and we just had Nor on there like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And
Yeah.
they must just think he's just a mod machine, man.
I know. I get a lot of funny questions. Like James over at Performance PCs, he's always teasing me, saying that I probably go out in my garage and there's just a row of all these cases just sitting there collecting dust.
What do you do with them all?
I do use them. The ones that I don't use, either I sell or dismantle, preferably the former. But I do use them. Noir is being used right now. That's my main home system. Checkmate is it's a land rig. I mean, it's slightly older equipment, not that fast, but it's there, and it's something for me to tote around. Usually when I go over to my best friend's house, we like to game occasionally, so I just tote that along with me. There's already an extra monitor there. So Blue Box is the home theater PC, obviously. And I probably use her maybe 3 times a week at least, which is everything is attached to a Windows Home Server box that is integrated into a printer cart that I have. That's what I store a majority of the disks that I own on.
I'm just looking through the work log, seeing what else you have.
There's a lot of stuff that that's never been logged and probably will never see the light of day. But I am trying to make an effort to post as many of the things as I possibly can. I can actually blame Hank Barron of Performance PCs for that. He's the one who really got on me about posting stuff. And I used to be that guy that would sit around in a dark room, hadn't shaved or showered in probably 3 or 4 days, hasn't seen the light of day in probably a week, and I'm just sitting there with my warm bottle of balls and a pack of Twizzlers and
total gamer.
Yep, surfing the modding sites and lurking, and I was that guy. I just never posted or anything. I guess I was just kind of afraid of it. I was just kind of worried that I would be accepted, or I'd get continuously mocked. And
And that's why we have a new rule on the Mod Brothers. There's no such thing as a noob.
Right, and if anybody's interested, go check out Jeremy's work. Go to themodbrothers.com and go to the staff work log section. You'll see his most recent projects on there. They're all awesome and amazing. Puts a lot of detail work, clean execution, which I really like about a good mod. To me, looks like it was made in a factory. That's just looks, just super clean. So definitely check it out for inspiration. There's a lot of cool projects on the forums that a lot of people don't know about. We've got some very talented modders, and a lot of inspiration just oozing out of those forums.
Also check out the featured work log section. There's some very, very, very nice work logs from some of our members.
There's a lot of really good work on there. I continuously comb through all the work logs, just checking out stuff, see what everybody's doing. I don't really have a whole lot of time to post in everybody's work logs, but usually when I have a minute or so, I'll drop in a quip or something.
That's what we need Josh for.
Yes.
Exactly.
So what was the inside joke? You said Spam 101?
Yeah. So spam a lot.
Spam line.
Yeah. He's basically keeping the lights on. When everybody's sleeping, he's in there watching. He's like this spirit floating through all the work logs and stuff.
Yep.
What's amazing is that he, and I known him floating around different forums before I ever saw his first project, and you just saw him as a fan, and then one day he started a project on BitTech, and I don't remember the name of it now, but he had the 3 different boxes he was doing. He's actually done 2 or 3 projects now all total, but I remember when he started that project, like, holy cow, this guy can mod too, and he's been hiding it this whole time. He had some really original, cool ideas.
Yeah, that's a sweet mod too. He did everything by hand too.
I know.
It takes a lot of dedication.
What was the name of that one again? What was it? With the 3 boxes, it was like a modular setup.
Yeah, Modulus or something along those lines.
Yeah, Modularis. That was it.
Unfortunately, he's not going to have time to finish that for a few years. He's off to uni.
Modularis Evolution.
Yep. Yeah, he's got like over 5,000 views and 24 pages in here, and
we'll have to try and get him on sometime while he's at uni. I shall give him a call tomorrow.
He's our resident ginger.
He is indeed.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the staff member work log section, and there is a ton of projects in here. And Scirocco, too. Christine.
I think we're going to be getting Christine on in the next episode, so.
Sweet.
But I think that's about us. Unless you guys have anything else you want to cover?
No, I'd say for a first episode, there's plenty of information that you can listen to again and catch.
Indeed.
On the behalf of everybody else, I apologize if this sounds really rough around the edges. We're all just kind of winging it as we go.
But with time, we should become more formal. Or hopefully not, but...
Well, hey, at least we didn't get into any fart jokes. I guess that's a plus.
And this and all future episodes are going to be available on iTunes, although you'll probably already know that. But But if you have any questions, just send them to at Mod Brothers on Twitter, the Mod Brothers at googlemail.com, or post on the forum. And I think that's about us.